If I can start with you, James Lawless. I mean, looking at those figures, I mean, Fianna Fáil, they're not even close to being in government at this level. I mean, Micheál, what's the relevance of voting for Fianna Fáil?
Thanks, Shane. And actually, before we get into that, just as Mayor of Naas, let me welcome you to the town today. And delighted that Newstalk came to broadcast from Naas. I think myself it's wide open. As we were saying in the discussion on polls earlier, the last polls last week were putting Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael each in the 20s within striking distance of each other. Going by the reaction on the doors, I think that it's wide open. It's very possible Fianna Fáil could emerge as the largest party. We don't know what the
There's no chance of Fianna Fáil emerging as the largest party.
Well, that's what they said in the local elections, and that's exactly what happened. Fianna Fáil was the largest party. We don't know what's going to happen. We're not going to second guess the government. Not going to second guess the people and who they ultimately decide. However, I do think it's important we have a strong government. It is also important we have a strong opposition. So regardless whether Fianna Fáil is leading the government or whether Fianna Fáil is leading the opposition, both are critical roles to safeguard the country to the next and ensure fairness. Because one thing we haven't seen is fairness in the last 5 years.
James Lawless, isn't it a little bit rich for Fianna Fáil to start saying we want a fairer Ireland and Ireland for everybody? I mean, it was the mess that Fianna Fáil caused.
Well, I think what we're seeing, Shane, we're seeing rank hypocrisy from the government parties. The Fine Gael and Labour bitterly opposed every step that Brian Lenihan took to try to restore the public finances right through 2008 through to 2010, 2011. Opposed at every step. And immediately upon taking office, Brian Lenihan had to put in 20 billion of a 30 billion correction. They pocketed that and moved on and moved forward and took the plan and pretty much ran with it. Since then, they've had 5 years in office. They have 5 years to make their own bed and make their own mistakes.
You accuse us of implementing your policy. Was your policy wrong then?
Brian Lenihan's plan for the correction
you accuse us of implementing your policy.
Emmett, you have had your own 5 years to make your own bed.
Are you saying we did or we didn't?
You've presided over now. It's time for you to accept responsibility for your own decisions.
In fact,
you have the medical fiasco, the housing crisis.
You were the first opposition
party
that actually had the...
One voice, let James make his point, please.
Denial.
We've had 5 years of Fine Gael Labour at this stage. And Deputy Durkin made a point.
I have to ask you to let him finish his point.
And Deputy Durkin made a point that they were opposed tooth and nail through the last 5 years. I actually disagree. There was a huge feeling of goodwill towards the government, towards the current government. When you took office in 2011, the people were looking for political reform. They were looking for a change. Political reform? What political reform is delivered in the last 5 years?
You wanted to come in there, James Lawless.
Yeah, just talking about the various promises there that and IBEC are making reference, I think, sensibly to the feasibility of some of those promises. But I think it's flabbergasting that 5 years on, we've had 5 years of I suppose, acknowledging that the boom and bust cycle is not the way to go, that we need to have measured steps, we need to look at positive promises.
That at last, anyway.
Well, you haven't learned anything, quite evidently, because you went in and broke all their promises. You voted against every promise they made in the last manifesto. And after 5 years later, you're repeating the same pattern. Labour promised the sun, moon and the stars in the last election.
That's not true at all.
Walked in, well, ask Tesco. Well, get your own Tesco ad out and look over the promises that you broke, all 6 of them.
Our main promise was to create jobs.
5 years later, you were repeating the exact same mistake. You were going back.
Let's have one voice.
I just find it extraordinary. Actually, I find it very disappointing in the last number of months approaching the election. The promises, hand over fist, coming out from the government parties. We will do this, we will do that, we will do the other. Desperate to cling on to office, desperate to get back up in the poll numbers, repeating the same mistakes of the past. And I think, if anything, we have to move on. The government parties have not learned that. And I think if it becomes an option...
Fianna Fáil want to move on. You don't want to talk about the past at all.
Well, Fianna
Fáil
has moved on. We absolutely have moved on.
Let's airbrush that 5-6 year period in the mid-noughties when you let the economy
run. Is that the same period when the opposition were crying more and more and more? That's the same period we're talking about. If we look at the manifestos of 2007, albeit 10 years on now at this stage, every single party was looking for more. In fact, the government parties, the Fine Gael Labour, actually wanted even more spending at the time. The Special Criminal Court, the pillar of any justice system and a judicial system, is trial by jury. A jury trial is a fundamental right of every accused. However, we have seen situations, we have it today, we've had it over the last 30 years, but we have it today. I stood by the canal in Sallins 10 days ago as a dismembered body was taken from the water by the Garda Special Units. We have a state under attack from gangland crime. We saw it last Friday, a hotel door was burst open with armed criminals. We must have a situation where we can protect the state, and if we need to uphold and protect juries and protect individuals and make sure that the people responsible are dealt with, then that's what we have to do. The Special Criminal Court has been challenged on many occasions. Kavanagh v Ireland 1996 in the Supreme Court, and it was found to be constitutional. In fact, in that case, Justice Barrington found it was a question of the administration of justice and preservation of public order and public peace. So even though we don't like it, trial by jury is the fundamental pillar of the justice system. In special circumstances where we have juries under intimidation, be it in Limerick, be it in Dublin, be it around the country, it is something that we must be able to, it is a weapon against crime we must be able to use. The polls, I think, are only a sample in time. They're a point in time. The feedback would far surpass the polls on the doors. I think the latest poll was 18%. There was a poll in the last couple of days, had both Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael in the 20s, within striking distance of each other. If we look back to the local elections, I think we were on maybe low 20s. On the day we got 25, 26 nationally, and in this area we got 31%. So I think the polls don't reflect the reality. Fianna Fáil typically...
Every party does say that, though, doesn't it? Well, every party says that,
well, but Fianna Fáil can say that it was borne out on polling day in 2014. We were the highest party, highest number of seats at local government, most votes for Fianna Fáil, most councillors for Fianna Fáil. As I say, in this area we performed at 31%. So every party can say it, but we can actually point to the hard figures from the local elections as bearing that out. I think as well, you touched on Micheál Martin's performance in the debates. Very, very strong feedback on the doors. I've had people saying to me the last couple of days, and indeed in Micheál's previous TV appearances, say the Ardèche speech, people come back to us and said, we're coming back to Fianna Fáil. We loaned our vote to Fine Gael in the last election. That vote is now coming home. I am certainly not campaigning to return Fine Gael to office. By no means am I doing that. The people do not want Fine Gael back in office. They do not want Labour back in office. I'm campaigning for a change of government, and that's the feedback that I'm getting on the doorsteps. Nobody is going to vote for Fianna Fáil to put Fine Gael back in office.